I would at this point, seeing as how I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again, I would at this point probably pull out the manual and talk about the robots, but I said in the last level, there is no mention of the robots in the manual. Nothing at all. There is... Wait, there is mention, that being said, of the cyborgs. Let's see what we have to say about that. Also, I want to pull up the fusion cannon, because I want to know what they have to say about that. Let's see here. Cyborgs, campaigners, elite troops. Steel-clad menaces are impervious to arrows. Oh no, I already read this. I already read it. I blew it. I blew my opportunity in the level 6 because I was so profoundly bored by it. Here's what I will say. I will bring up the Chronoceptor because we're about to acquire it, and it's kind of your reward for beating Thunder. If you get a hold of the pieces of this item before the campaigner does, you can assemble them into an apparatus of ultimate destruction. The Chronoceptor is capable of creating micro-tears in the fabric of space-time, thus disrupting matter at a focus point. No one is certain what will happen if the campaigner gets his hands on it and amplifies its power exponentially. The Chronoceptor would hypothetically work best as a weapon if used on a relatively stationary target. It cannot be recharged. So, that's amazing. Now, what does that look like in terms of gameplay? It just explodes. You shoot a laser beam, a really thick laser beam, and then it just explodes on impact and does a... You'll see. It's possible, if you aim it properly, to defeat the final boss in 2 shots. I have to use 3 because it's very finicky. Again, it's one of those things where all I can say is you'll see. It's hard to describe what makes it finicky. But it's the projectile itself does damage, and then there's an explosion that does damage, and the explosion is kind of a... There's no invincibility timer given to, or the, what would the term be? You'll see. Oh, ominous. And sadly, this is the fight. I kind of didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say anything because the boss visually is really cool, and there are a ton of effects. That laser effect, I wish more games would use it. It doesn't make any sense unless there's smoke to show the beam like that. But visually, it just looks. It's so cool. That's the only word I can use to describe it. But what makes it disappointing is, guess what? You just circle strafe it. There's no fight, really. And another detail is, as you deal damage to it, pieces of its skin, its organic bits, actually fall off a part of it and reveal more cyborg underneath. It's cool, but ultimately disappointing. Bye, Thunder. And so, here we are. There's the Chronoceptor. 3 shots, and that's all you get. And you get every single weapon in the game. In preparation for the final challenge. This build-up, by the way, is genuinely wonderful as well. Bye! That always made me laugh. There you go. That's it. Now, that is probably incredibly disappointing. And don't mind the clicks, it's me. I guess there's another thing I would ask, how do you feel about that? I don't know how I feel about that. Let's see, when did this game come out? Turok came out, I think in 97. 96 or 97. 1997. So, let me think. Had Resident Evil 1 come out, but, well, no, I can't. The reason why I'm bringing up Resident Evil is because the way they do it, there's a... You actually fight the boss and then the rocket launcher drops, right? The Chronoceptor completely trivializes the campaigner, and there is an actual fight. If you don't use the Chronoceptor, there is a genuine fight. He teleports around, he has a whole repertoire of moves at his disposal. Funny enough, he has I said it again. Stop saying that. He has an energy shield that deflects your pulse rifle shots. Why? Beats me, but he has it. So what I was going to say is, the thing you can, if you notice it behind him, there's a weird machine, the campaigner. I imagine that's what the idea behind it is. That would be the focusing device for the Chronoceptor that he would have used to conquer the universe. My thought is that if you're going to put an ultimate weapon like that in the game, it kind of becomes disappointing. I get that the reward for finding the secret weapon, the secret ultimate weapon parts, is, yes, it makes the final boss easier. but it also makes the final boss too easy. It completely negates the fight, because, as you saw, there are moments where he would stand still because he goes through an animation, much like Thunder, where they sit still because pieces of them are falling off because they want to make it visually interesting. And also, I would imagine as a way to get for the player to get in free hits. Problem is, when you give the player a free hit, and they have the ultimate weapon of destruction that rips time and space apart, the fight is nothing. So, my thought is, you have to charge up the Chronoceptor. What you should actually have it be is you have to make it that it's one shot, like I said, the rocket launcher in Resident Evil. But you have to wait for it to charge. That way, there's an actual fight that happens, while still offering the reward for trivial. I don't know how to feel. At the end of the day, it is what it is. And that's Turok Dinosaur Hunter. The first one. The one that everyone seems to forget about. Because the sequel is infinitely better. And not only in a subjective sense, but... no, just in a subjective sense. Just my own opinion. And only me. A fun fact, in the original PC version and the Nintendo 64 version, whenever Talset flies out of the exploding fortress and he looks back, I always found it uproariously hilarious because Talset looks back and then in big, giant clip art, it says game over. And then it rolls credits. I imagine Night Dive felt similar because in this version, obviously there was nothing there. Talset just looks back and it's the explosion, and then it cuts to credits. The game over title card will be at the end of the credits. I imagine Night Dive felt similar to everyone else, and the placement of the game over was so odd and so abrupt to make it completely ridiculous. But alas, all said and done. And if you actually want to bother going through the rest of the credits, by all means. I want to leave them up just because, well, credit when credit's due. Do I still like this game? I like 2 levels of it. Next up is, I don't know, probably a combination of AVP2 and Turok 2. And then beyond!